Again, I grew up in the deep south of US. Back then, there was still kind of like a lot of racial kind of differences that people are not really accepting foreigners. I had to get into a couple of like physical altercation with some of the local kids.
You've made some interesting investments in condo properties in Bangkok. What are the factors that influence your decision to invest?
What's the story, everybody? Pete here from Thairish Times. Hope you're doing well. We got another video for you today, another interview for you today with a gentleman called M. Now, M was born in Thailand and he moved to America when he was 12 years old. And today he's going to tell us his whole life story. Really interesting. Both his parents are Thai. And well, we're going to get into the whole family dynamic in the video, but we're going to talk about, his life story, growing up in America. How did he adapt to American culture, especially being 12 years old and moving to America, leaving all your friends behind and learning a new language and different culture. Yeah, so we're going to get into that. And then we're going to talk about what M does for a living now, because he has a really interesting job as well. And then we're going to talk about the interesting property investments in that M has done in Thailand. He's made in Thailand. So we're going to get into all that in this video. Hope you enjoy it, folks. If you do enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We're nearly at 50k, baby. 50k, baby. So I want to get there, so help me get to 50k. Hit that subscribe button. Come on, 50k. We'll have a big live stream, big party. We'll have loads of Leo or Guinness or whatever. We'll have a big old session. 50k, come on, let's do it. Okay, cheers, let's get straight into it.
All right, cool. So thanks so much for coming. Kop kun mak krap. Give you the old white.
Swaddy Crab, Cop Good Crab, he have me
So
on the show.
no problem. I know you've got a great story because I have it here in front of me. So let's go back to the very beginning, okay? You were born in Thailand, but you spent most of your life living in the USA. You moved to the USA when you were 12. Can you kind of talk about that move and growing up in Thailand and why you actually moved to the United States at 12?
Yeah, okay, sure. Well, you said right. I actually was born in Thailand, in Bangkok, Thailand, and went to school up until like, 12 and a half, I think almost 12 and a half. That's when I moved to the US. At that time, my older sister was a student at University of Florida, okay, studying her master degrees there. And at that time, both of my parents were actually not working or living in Bangkok with me and my older brothers. So it's just us little kid, because they were working for the United Nations, the FAO arms of United Nations. So they will get assigned to go work in countries like Bangladesh, Gambia, Senegal, those kind of countries in the, even in West Africa. So we had no adults who like supervise us. So, I think they that's why they sort of like sent us to go and basically live with our older sister. It was not just me, it was me and my older brother, who's like just 1 year older than me. So we went at the same time and we lived with my older sister who was going to school at University of Florida. So she became sort of like a de facto legal guardian for us.
Okay. And what was that move like? I mean, are you from Bangkok originally?
Correct, yeah.
So you're growing up in Bangkok, you've got all your Thai friends, your buddies you're going to school with. All of a sudden you move to the United States, new culture, new language. What was that like adjusting to that?
Quite a culture shock, Pete. But here's the thing. When I was growing up in Thailand, our family always had the American exchange student. I think back then it's called the AFS program. So we have exchange student, either American, Australian, New Zealander, Swedish, come and live with us, and so we practice and use English all the time in our household. So it was not so much of like the language barrier when I first moved to the US, but it was more of like how things were done, and again, I grew up in the deep south of, US. So that was like back then there was still kind of like a lot of racial kind of, differences that people are not really accepting foreigners coming into the, their schools, things like that.
Was that hard for you going into a new school?
I don't recall it being difficult. You know, you deal with like occasional like racism, you know, like words being thrown at you, like, you know, racial slurs and stuff like that. Even though it's like, you know, they might use like thing that they think because I look Asian, so therefore I must be from China, right? Even though I'm not from China. So words like that, you know. But for the most part, I I guess I had to get into a couple of like physical altercation with some of the local kids, whether it be like, you know, the white kids or the, you know, the black kids, just to like, hey man, you know, don't mess with me because I know some like martial art. Because I went before I went to the US, I went to kind of like a military academy. So we had to learn like, you know, a little bit of you know, Muay Thai, things like that, right? And sword fighting. So I could handle myself, I think. Is that what that's what I would say. So that was not too much of a problem. Did have a couple of those you know, physical, you know, fights, but then turn out to become friends with them, which is weird. Like, you know, like you just have to stand up to some of these folks, make sure that, hey, you can't be bullying me around. So
Yeah, you earned their respect.
yeah, there you go. But one funny thing was that I recall because, you know, growing up in Thailand back then, you know, football is football to the rest of the world, whereas into American football is their so-called American football, which is almost like rugby, right, with helmet on. And that was like, you know, school tryout for football. So I went and try out, and there was like they were doing all this thing, and they start like throwing the ball to me, you know, and then it just like, whoa, I don't know what I'm doing here.
What sport is this? I'm in the
Yeah,
wrong
exactly.
sport.
Exactly. So, you know, those kind of like culture shock. And also the food, right? You know, there was no Thai restaurant around at all in that town. It's a small college town called Gainesville, Florida. There might be like maybe one, two Chinese restaurant. But that was about it into like Asian cuisines. So I had to adjust and also had to learn to, how you said, fend for myself, meaning like cook for myself. If I want to eat Thai food, then better learn how to cook it for yourself. Because our sister were not really around that much. She hung out with all her, you know, like her college friends. So that was how my life was as a teenager.
And then you mentioned your parents were away with the UN. Were they away for long stints abroad?
Yes. I mean, we only like go and visit them in whatever country that they're stationed at, once a year during the summer. You know, the luckily like the UN would like sponsor the flights and all that stuff, including like for the education. So it did not really cost my parents anything, right? Which is nice. But we didn't live with them at all. So it just like, you know, they would send us maybe like money each month. So we have to like learn to how you say, manage yourself, manage how you spend your money. So
Wow.
in a way, it was good. I mean, learn to be like, you know, kind of like how to
So you grew up
manage.
fast.
Yeah, yeah, you had to grow up fast,
You
which
no
is kind of
choice.
no choice. And what saved me and my older brother from getting into more trouble is really music. You know, we got into music pretty early on and start playing in bands, and then start throwing like parties, you know, and then got into more like DJing. I think I shared that little bit of tidbits with you. And that was fun, you know, it's just playing music and people like react to it. Um,
Yeah, let's get into that. So you and your brother started your own indie record label. Tell us about
ye-
that journey.
well, that was because like, you know, we started, like I said, we play in like bands, you know, he played bass, I play guitar. And then we start DJing in clubs and bars. It's a natural, I guess, progression from like, okay, now that we play other people music, let's just make our own music. And so making the music, you know, working with like other musician, like have them become like, you know, session musician with us when we record songs. And then we just like let's release some music and using our, you know, the clubs, the bar that we already work at as a place to try out how the audience would react and to the music that we make. So it became a little bit of a, you know, like a little business for us, and also let me and my brother sort of like really explore different type of musical genre. You know, like we would mashed up like punk rock, new wave with like soul and funk, and also some hip hop, but you know, we were influenced a lot by the Afro-Brazilian like kind of house music. So that became sort of like our preferred music taste for our own record label.
What year are we talking here? Are we talking the early 90s?
Yes, the early 90s, once I moved from Florida to Washington, DC. And DC has always been like a hotbed for musicians and artists, right? You know, like Marvin Gaye is from there, for example. So we just like we have a really tight-knit community of like, you know, artists and musicians and DJs. And we just like, for example, like the label, you know, it's we call Step Ahead Records, meaning step ahead of you, but not really. But you know, like and we would have like musician and you know, other artists, even other DJs to come and do remix or do one mix with us, and then we release those out, and then we test it out on the within the club scene that we basically, you know, keep entertaining the crowd with.
That's quite interesting. That was music that you were able to channel your energy and create a business out of. You could imagine you could, for some people it would have went the other way. You've got you and your brother similar ages, your parents are away, your sister's off doing her own thing. That's like a perfect recipe for like going down the wrong path. But you were able to go down the right path. You know, music was able to unleash a new kind of a world that you're able to form a business, and then we'll get into it later on, but that led to other things, which is kind of on your journey to where you are today.
Correct. Yeah, by doing that, you know, I had to basically learn how to design like flyer to my you know, the dance parties that I was throwing, and also like learn to kind of like how to design and build, you know, like e-commerce website so that I can sell my products online. We also have like, you know, consignment through like even Virgin Mega Stores or Tower Records, things like that, like the physical stores. But I had to learn quick on how to, I don't want to say like bullshit my way through, but like, you know, I
Make
basically,
it till you make it.
yeah, exactly. Self-taught a lot of time, like trials and errors. Luckily enough, like, you know, by doing that and being totally vulnerable, other people notice and then like, oh, hey, we need a website or we need something designed too. Can you like help us out? And that became sort of like, you know, okay, more, you know, cha-ching, more money coming in. So that was kind of cool. And it led me to get like hired to work on some really big projects for clients. Throughout my years, I became sort of like doing the UX and product design for a lot of like digital product companies,
Can you
ranging
explain
from,
can you explain what UX design is for people that wouldn't know what it is?
yeah, well, UX stand for user experience. So basically, we UX designers design and craft the intended um, user experience for people like you and me, or whether it be like, you know, consumer or with, let's say, you know, more of the institutional, like, you know, enterprise grade type of audience to use the products or the platform, such as Zoom or Facebook or Line. You know, how do you make that, as I like to say this, bonehead easy as possible, that you don't even have to think of how to use it correctly?
Pretty much the whole iPhone, Apple.
Yeah, something like
Just
that,
like
right? You know,
simple
keep,
as can be, make it as efficient as possible.
yep, exactly. That's what UX design in a nutshell is intended to do. Having said that, UX, you probably hear like UX and UI. You have to do all the UX first, and then the UI is sort of like the surface, you know, the icing on top of a cake to make it look like, you know, visually appealing, delightful to use.
Did you, over the course of your life, did you go back to Thailand every year to visit family and stuff like that?
Good question. I when I grew up, I did not go back at all until, gosh, I mean, I was here in the US until I was in my mid 20s. That's when I first start going back. So you know, like over a decade of not going back at all. But just like go and visit my parents wherever, like, you know, they were working at whatever countries, right? Once a year. But coming back to Thailand was not something that I did at all until my mid 20s. And when I started coming back, like after I started coming back, then it was like, every other year first and then become every year. Just, summer vacation basically. So at the most it's like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then go back.
And how about your Thai language? I mean, were you speaking to your brother in Thai over back in America, like, or did you kind of speak in English and then did you, because you didn't come back to Thailand for a couple of years, did you kind of lose the language a little bit?
Oh yeah, I definitely did. If you ask me to like right now, even now, ask me to like fill out forms, like legal forms in Thai, I cannot do it. I cannot do it, man. I mean, I can like even like my name in Thai, I would have to like look at the, my, for example, I did make a Thai ID and I had to like basically just like kind of duplicate and copy how it looks. That's how I would do it. Or I would have like my cousin or my sisters that's in Thailand help me fill out the form, right?
How
So
about your
yeah,
speaking skills?
my speaking skill is, I think it's still intact, although like maybe some of the, more current slangs I probably don't know as well as if I were like, still living in Thailand on a day-to-day basis, right? I'm sure maybe like you might know more Thai slang than I do.
But I think, all it, you see, it's in there, it's in your mind. So if you were there for like 6 months or a year, you just pick it up again naturally.
Yeah, exactly. So whenever I go back and then like, my cousins would speak to me in Thai, then yeah, I can just have conversation. But sometimes like then, for example, when like if you get on a taxi or something like that and they ask you like, oh, which route you want to go? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I mean, you know what I mean? And they would like just keep going around, keep the meter running. So I'm like, I wouldn't even know.
So the taxi guys, like, they kind of suss you out pretty fast. I'm like, this guy,
yeah.
he's kind of Thai. Or do Thai people kind of, are Thai people perplexed when they meet you? Like, he looks like a Thai man, but he doesn't speak Thai.
Yeah, they do. They can, that's like a little silent code. I don't know. I mean, maybe like the way I speak, the way I move around. It's I mean, I grew up in America, man, so it's pretty much Americanized already for the most part. I mean, I still have certain accent that I don't think I can ever get rid of. But I kind of like it. I kind of like want to keep my little bit of Thai accent too.
Yeah,
Um,
keep the Thai accent. Don't lose that.
exactly. So, but when I go back, yeah, people do notice right away that I'm not exactly, hey, this guy is not from around here, and.
You've made some interesting investments in condo properties in Bangkok. Let's talk about that. What are the factors that influence your decision to invest in condo properties in Bangkok?
Okay, I'm gonna have to date back to like back in 2015, I was this close to sign like a 10-year lease to open up my own Thai bar and grill in this Chelsea area in New York City. And I had a couple of like investors that are willing to do that, invest in me opening that place. But the landlord for that property, was really being a blood-sucking beep beep. Beep. And so I decided to walk away from that. And what I was gonna do with the money that I've been making, and basically that money that I was making is through years of like working in the digital products, designing, whether it be like full-time job or doing like consulting. So and my rate was pretty high, so I was able to like like build up quite a bit of liquid capital. um so I once I decided not to go ahead and do the bar business in New York because the cost is going to be too much, and I basically pivot my plan, and I'm like, well, okay, if I'm not gonna open up a bar here in New York, what am I going to do with this money? And the money from the investor, I already returned it to them. And some of which, part of which was coming from my childhood buddy from Thailand, who was willing to invest as well. So once those money returned, but then we're like, well, you know what? I don't know if I can ever open a place here in New York because the cost is going to be too high. But if I'm going to think about opening something in Asia, maybe in Thailand, the startup cost would be so much less, right? And with this cash and with the currencies, when you convert to Thai money, I'm sure that I can probably start something pretty decent. But then again, at that time, like, well, I'm still, living here in the US. I got married, and I have a kid. So, I want to give her the opportunities, meaning my daughter, opportunity to like at least get educated here. And I'm still young enough. So why not just try to, dabble into real estate? Not here in the US, but like in Thailand. And and my sister who's over there, also like, introduced me to this development group called Ananda the Development Group. I can recommend them, um, because she has a property with them also. So she introduced me to them, and the rest is history. Like, but because I did not have any credit established in Thailand at all, because I grew up here, basically I'm like a ghost in Thailand, right? I had to pay for my first condo in cash. Um, and
Wow.
I did. And I did. I mean, meaning like my sister would go and book the condo when it was like nothing's there yet. It's like built from scratch, man. So
And
she
did
would
you
like
walk
help.
in there with a suitcase full of cash?
Well, no, I mean like I had her help me open up like a joint bank account with her. This is my blood sister, right? So, and then basically I would just like transfer money from my bank in the US into that account. And then with that money, then we'll go and like pay for the condo properties. And the first one is it's called the Vineo Sukhumvit 10. It's in Sukhumvit Soy 10
What's
near
the name of it
Esso.
again?
Vineo.
Oh
Vineo?
yeah, I know the brand. I know the brand.
Yeah. I mean it's built by this group called Ananda Development Group. They they built like the Ashton, the
Okay.
IDEO,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
those
The
kind of
big,
places.
yeah, the Ashton is a very nice place.
Oh yeah. And also very expensive.
You have a condo there as well, don't you?
Yeah, yeah. I think the one that when I met you, I just bought that second condo there. But this time, the one at Ashton, I actually got approved because now I have like the first one. I have asset, right? So as I actually got approved by the SCB Bank for a mortgage. And my case was a little bit unique for them because, you know, uh, I'm a Thai American citizen, right? So they never had that before. So it had actually had to go all the way to the top brass in that company to approve me for this mortgage.
Why?
Because
Because
it's
you're Thai. Also, you've got an American passport, but you spent years in America.
right,
Makes it more
right.
complicated.
Yeah, yeah. Because I don't live there. And the only thing I have as an asset is just that condo, the first one.
Okay.
So basically start building kind of like bank accounts with SCB. They approved the mortgage for the property at Ashton, right? The 2-bedroom property. So really nice, by the way. I can recommend that too. Um, if any of your audience would ever be interested.
You've obviously chosen high-end condos. I mean, the Ashton is a beautiful, beautiful condo, but as you said, it's very, very expensive. But it's the other condos I look at around Bangkok, and I just wonder, 50 years' time, are they still going to be standing? Like, is the quality of the build, is it good? Is it long lasting? Or are you going to have exterior, cracks in the exterior in 20 years that are just unfixable and the whole thing has to come down? And then if it does have to come down, what happens then? But I mean, that's obviously a very hard to answer that question. But how did you like research? Because were you wary about the quality of the build of some of the condos?
Well, that's why I chose to go with like highly regarded development firm, right? Like Ananda is pretty well regarded among the Thais even, right? So the quality that you get is I think it's a lot better than say more like the cheaper brands. Um, I guess maybe that saying is true. Like you get what you pay for, right? Um, but to totally be honest with you, like how do I know that it's gonna last for a long time? Like I don't know, right? I mean, I and my way of looking at this is like, yes, I invest in these properties. I'm not actually living there right now, right? So I've been just like renting them out to expats. Maybe it's an expat that like married the Thai ladies. So you know that is just to generate passive income that can just like go and stay in my Thai bank account. So when I go and visit Thailand, I don't have to bring any money.
Do you find it easy to rent them out?
I use the kind of like a rental property management firms to help me like, find tenants so that I can like, it's not just anybody can come and rent. And by the way, one of the reasons why I chose to go with more of the higher end properties rather than like, the cheaper ones, say, between the 1 million to like, 3 million baht type of properties is because I was not game planning to rent out to fellow Thais at all because I don't think they can afford it. Number one, right? So, with the expat, whether it be like the American, the Europeans, Australian or whatnot, or even the Japanese, the the rate that you can get from them
Yeah, it's true.
is in a different ballpark than you try to rent to a Thai person.
Did you buy it off the plans?
What do you mean?
Like, before it was actually built? Just did you buy it from the plans?
No, this one is like just finishing up. Yeah, but the first one I did, the one in the Sukhumvit Soi 10, that was from like when it was like nothing was there. Just look at the plan. My sister sent me the plan to look at. Then it shows like which unit I want, what direction I want to look at, what floors. So this one, the one at Ashton, I just went in and looked at the properties. Initially, I was thinking about getting another 1 bedroom, but when I look at the 2 bedrooms and I just felt good about this place. So I'm like, okay, even though it's expensive, but I was able to negotiate really harsh down from like the listed price. I mean, the listed price was like over 17 mils baht though, not dollars.
70 million baht. Okay, jeez, that's expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
For
But
Thailand, wow.
But yeah, for Thailand. So I got it down, let's just say -3. So
Okay. Yeah,
minus three and a
still
half, still high.
still
Yeah,
high.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
And so you've made a pact with your wife who's from Japan that
Yep,
you're gonna either retire in Bangkok or Tokyo.
yep, correct.
Do you have like what's the plan? Like how old, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you now? Like when do you think you'll do the plan?
Well, I'm a child of the 60 Pete, so I'm a Gen Xers. So I'm already in my 50s actually. So
Man, you look
and
very well. You don't look 50 at all.
oh, thank you.
No, I'm
Maybe.
serious.
Thank you. But yeah, I mean, I am, and so that's why I'm game planning. Okay, when am I gonna retire? And even when I retire, um, you know, I need to be able to do something, whether it be like a bar or a restaurant or some kind of thing, something to do with lifestyle. You know what I mean? That I enjoy. So Japan is quite expensive as well, I think. Like Tokyo in particular, where my wife is from. Um, her family runs a real estate company in Tokyo, right? So but I think my wife kept saying to me, no, yeah, don't buy in Japan because there's earthquake and all this stuff. So that's why you probably see a lot of like Japanese expat in Bangkok living in Thailand because it's a lot cheaper than in Japan even. And
Yeah.
they can live in Thailand like have live in maid and all that stuff, right? So
Man, I could see you with a bar in Thailand, in Bangkok, central Bangkok, maybe even a kind of a small Japanese style bar. I think you'd be in
yeah,
there. Oh man,
yeah.
I think that would I love those little Japanese bars in Bangkok around the Phnom Penh area. They're great.
Oh, you're talking
Oh,
about like some kind of like I think in Japanese terms it's called izakaya. It's almost
yeah,
like tapas style bar, right? Like you go in
yeah.
there and you have
Small,
beers.
quaint, kind of personal.
Yeah, yeah. But maybe we'll do a hybrid, like Thai and Japanese.
And are you involved with the Thai community in New York? Because you're in New York now. We didn't say that, but there's a lot of Thai people in New York. So are you involved in the Thai community there?
Not actively because I think the Thai community in New York area is not exactly in Manhattan, New York City. I live like in the Broadway theater district. And actually, there's another name for it. It's called Hell's Kitchen. Don't ask.
Hell's Kitchen. That was where the Irish used to live.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
This is my neighborhood,
famous.
man. This
No
is my
way. That's
neighborhood.
cool.
Right. So yeah, I've been living in this area for like, since I moved to New York City. So over since 2007. That's when I moved to New York from Washington, DC. So
So most of the Thai people, are they in Brooklyn or different boroughs?
they in Queens. So you have to take the train would be about like 30 minutes, maybe a little longer, like 45 minutes. And like there's Thai restaurant, but like in my neighborhood here in Hell's Kitchen, there's plenty of Thai restaurant too. But my problem with them is that they have maybe like one menu, two menu items per restaurant that are kind of like semi quasi authentic, you know. The rest are just like either
What if
too
you walked
sweet.
in there and said like, "Hey, like, look, I'm Thai. Cook me up a special dish."
The funny thing is a lot of them don't even like speak to me in Thai because they didn't know that I'm Thai. I would have to like start, like when I start sitting down already, like, yeah, can you make this like for Thai person to eat? You know what I mean? And that's when, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you're Thai. It's kind of interesting.
After many years in the US, do you identify more with being American or Thai, or is it like Thai American?
How should I respond this way? Would it be weird if I say like, especially like when I'm overseas, whether it be like when I go to Europe or to Japan or even to Thailand, when I hear like American national anthem or when I bump into fellow Americans, I'm like happy as hell, man. I don't know, I feel more comfortable than when I'm talking to Thai persons. Because in the Thai culture, there's certain way you have to talk. I'm sure you probably noticed by now, like, you lived there for quite some time. Um, you know, and in Thailand, there's not so much about racism, but there's like class, there's how you say that? Like
Yeah, classism.
there you go, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes like because my Thai is not all that great anymore, I I I'm not as relaxed to like use Thai with fellow Thai, especially those that are not like my circle of friends or my family members or relatives. Then I'm being more cautious. But when I'm like, bump into like fellow Americans, I can just like get down and just be myself, and I feel more comfortable around them. It's weird.
And you go back to Thailand every year. You're going back within the next couple of weeks, July.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in Thailand from July 24th to August 4th or 5th. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
taking a
Actually,
holiday.
yeah, we do that. And also just to visit my parents, they're in the old age now. And so that my daughter can visit with her grandparents as well, you know.
Well, so when you meet your parents, then is it all you speak in Thai all the time, or
No.
wow?
Because yeah, keep in mind they work for the UNs, so and they kind of like prep us, all the kids since we were young to speak English in their households. I mean, we do like right now, like kind of like half Thai, half English. You know what I mean? It's kind of interesting. Like when we don't want people to understand what the hell we're talking about, like the Thais, then we speak to each other in English. When we don't want folks that understand English to understand us, what we're saying, then we speak in Thai.
Okay, you got your little
Convenience.
code. Yeah. I mean, look, that's the way to do it.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
do you like to go out for a couple of beers when you're in Bangkok?
Do I like,
Do,
wait, what do you say?
do you like to go for a couple of beers when you're in Bangkok?
Heck yeah, man.
Where do you go? Like, what kind of, like, what's your style? You going a night out in Bangkok? Where are you going? What are you doing?
Um, I it depends on like whether like my friends would like where they want to take me, or if I'm gonna go and hang out with like fellow Americans that I became friend with and who's now in Thailand. Then we'll go to different places. But I like to go to place. This is where I actually had my wedding reception. Is at M Bar. I think it's on the rooftop. of the what's the name of that hotel, man? 4 Point Hotel on Sukhumvit, Soy 15.
It sounds familiar. I don't think I've been there.
I think on the street level now, it has a bar called Hooters.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I've just walked by. I've never gone in.
Oh yeah,
Right,
the
that's what we say.
rooftop is
I've
pretty
walked
swanky.
by and looked for a
Mm-hmm.
second. I just looked for a second like that. Look, and then I kept going. Didn't go in.
Uh-huh. Safe answer, right? No, I
I
mean
looked
like,
from
but
that far away. Oh, there's Hooters. Okay.
hey, but they have good wings, man. You should go and try it. If you like spicy buffalo wings, buffalo style wings from America, that's the
Hooters is the
place that,
place.
yeah, the place that I probably would recommend. Actually, I plan on going, um, have some wings over there when I visit Bangkok this year. Quick question for you. What do you prefer, man? Sing or like the Shang beer or the Leo?
Leo is my favorite, man. I love Leo.
Leo, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chang, I hate Chang. Gives me a terrible hangover.
Yeah, I don't really like Shang either, but I guess because when I was a kid growing up, back then, by the way, back then there was no like such thing as like age limit. Like when I was a kid in Thailand, especially when my parents were not living with us, right? They were like overseas somewhere. Um, we would just like go and buy alcohols. Underage, they don't care. Go to nightclubs, they don't care. I don't know about now. I think is there like such a thing as age limit
Yeah, you
now?
probably wouldn't get away with it now. Yeah, but what age were you when you were doing it? You weren't 12, were you?
No, I was younger than that, right?
What? You were going to nightclubs, what, 11?
Yeah,
10,
10 or
11?
11. Yeah. Like, we'll take our
God.
parents' car out there, go to the nightclubs. It was fun. And they
Oh my
didn't stop
God.
us. As long as you have money, you can buy anything. Back
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
I don't know about now.
Yeah, I can't imagine a 10-year-old being in a nightclub in Thongla now.
Yeah.
But Thongla is a nice area. Like, is that where your family are from there? Is it, or they live there?
Yeah, well, we have, family that live in Tonglo area and then also in the area called Bashani Wade. I don't know if you know that area or not. Not
No.
exactly in the city center area, like the Sukhumvit or the Asok, things like that. This is like a little bit further out. So two areas.
Okay,
And then
cool.
we also have like, like my mom is from one of the southern provinces, called Patalung.
Patalong, yeah.
Yeah. So
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 your
sometimes we
parents
go.
never settled in the United States?
No.
Wow. It's an interesting family dynamic you have because a lot of Thai people are very kind of family orientated. Well, when you were growing up, your parents were, they were off
Yeah.
with the UN and it was you were in America, you were separated by vast distances. Very
Mm-hmm.
unusual for Thai people.
Yeah. We pretty unique family. But I mean, like we still bonded and very close to each other. And I'm glad that I get a chance to like go and visit them every year this time, because now they're fully retired, of course. And they're like, my dad just turned 90s. My mom is
Wow.
like 88, so pretty old, pretty
Yeah,
old.
yeah.
Yeah.
Spend as much time with them as you can. Let's talk about your background. Got Bruce Lee going on here. Be formless, like water, shapeless. You put water in a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. And then you put water into a teapot, it becomes the
The
teapot.
teapot
Water can flow or it can
can crash.
crash.
Yes.
Bruce Lee is like one of your idols, is he?
Yeah. I grew up like watching all his movies. And when I was growing up here in the US, even nowadays, I walk on the street, sometimes people are like they'll do this. Oh, I'm like
To you.
Bruce. Yeah. I'm like, okay, I'll take that as a compliment, but I'm taller. You know? I'm not as tight as Bruce Lee, but I guess maybe it's a hairstyles, maybe. Um, I don't know. He was born here in the US, right? San Francisco, and then went back to Hong Kong and then came back to the US, So certain things that he dealt with, I can relate. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
man. That's
In his
cool.
life. Yeah. So that's why.
Well, it's been a pleasure, man. I really enjoyed your story, and I wish you all the best. You've got some good things going, and I'm sure that maybe down the line, in maybe 6 months or a year, we could maybe do a part two. Or maybe people have
Yeah.
questions they want to ask you, they can leave it down in the comment section, or they want to see another interview. If they have any questions, stick it down in the comment section. Take it easy, man. It was great talking to you, and let's keep in contact online.
Yeah, let's do that, man. And if you're ever gonna be in say Thailand maybe next year, we can maybe like game plan, like meet up and meet up
Yeah,
for
or else
beers
New
or something.
York. I'd love to go
Or
for a
New
couple of
York,
beers in
yeah.
New York, man. Down Hell's Kitchen, couple of
Yeah.
beers.
Yes, couple of beers, couple of, like whiskeys,
You can show me around.
I know this neighborhood like really well. All the spot to go and hang out. Yeah. I mean, there's
Okay.
plenty of Irish bars around here too in my neighborhood. Just so you feel like right at home.
Okay, cool, man. Best of luck, cheers.
Yes,
Cop gun
sir.
Mac Cap.
ครับสวัสดีครับ
Sorry, Cap.